So we were wondering yesterday what Jurgen Klopp would say about that decision, about that Luis Diaz goal in that game against Tottenham. And this is what he said.
I think the outcome should be a replay. That's how it is. Probably will not happen. The argument against that will probably be if we open that gate, then everybody will ask for it. I think the situation is that unprecedented that it didn't happen before in that moment. And we are all used. I'm 56 years old, and I'm since 50 years in football, and I'm absolutely used. I don't deal always well with it, but I'm used to wrong decisions, difficult decisions, blah, 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 all these kind of things. But something like that, as far as I can remember, never happened. And that's why I think a replay would be the right thing. And against the argument would be if it would happen again, I think a replay would be the right thing to do. Or the ref has the opportunity to bring both coaches together and say, sorry, we made a mistake, but we can sort it. Let Liverpool score a goal and we start from there.
Okay, Doug.
I think the replay would be the right route to go down. What kind of territory has got himself into now?
Well, he needed to balance it up, didn't he? You see, because he was brilliant post the game. He was, controlled and thoughtful and considerate and recognising a mistake was made. So he needed to balance that up because that was too much of a decent answer. So he needed to come back with this ridiculous analysis of that it should be replayed. Someone made a dreadful mistake and there's no hiding from that. And whilst I hear Jamie Carragher suggesting that whataboutery is not the same thing, what happened to other football clubs and other games isn't a reason for not considering this as a replay, it's ridiculous. A mistake has been made. Unfortunately, the outcome of the game wasn't necessarily determined by that because it didn't happen in the 97th minute. And so Liverpool couldn't have altered the outcome for the rest of that game. It happened at a certain stage in the game, and there was a lot of game in front of them. I understand that whatever happens can affect the outcome. I get it.
Yeah.
But to suggest it needs to be a replay, Gary Neville, I agree emphatically on it. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't know why it's happened to other sides where there's been a travesty. These things happen. That wasn't a human error. That was something different.
I mean, Klopp says it's probably not going to happen a replay. So why float the idea?
Because he wanted to. Because he's in a press conference.
If Liverpool had won 2-1, he wouldn't be saying it.
Well, we don't know that, do we? If we're to believe Jurgen, and I'm conscious of the fact that what happens with football people, like it does with boxers sometimes, is they forget all the praise that you give to them, and when you criticise them, they don't like that and they remember that. So I'm going to go in and criticise Jurgen, and if it's put to him, he'll remind everyone how much he doesn't like my opinions. I think he's one of the best managers that we've seen in English football in a very, very long time. I think he produces a wonderful football side. I think on the whole, the things that he says are always sensible, always balanced, and often real world rather than football world. But when you get into this territory, and again, you make the point, that's an interesting point, because he would have to be in that case, wouldn't he? He'd have to be on the other side of the argument. If it were the other way round, Jurgen Klopp, by his logic, would have to be saying, I want a replay.
We want a replay.
I want to be, and what Jurgen Klopp would have done. What Jurgen Klopp would have done is he would have asked for Liverpool's goal to be disallowed. He would have made some adjustment on the pitch, like what happened when I think someone got a goal. I think it was Leeds United, and Bielsa let someone score against them. He would have evened it up that way. Would he, bugger? Of course he wouldn't. It's nonsense of being on the right side of an argument.
Yeah.
Look, this is not a replayable event. This is a human error. And human error is factored into everything. Like when Jurgen Klopp made stupid comments to Des Kelly, and Des Kelly made him look like a fool on air because he made observations about the broadcasters. We all make mistakes. Jurgen Klopp has said something that I don't think was necessary and I don't think is helpful.
Well, Paul Joyce in the Times this morning says the Premier League has been publicly silent since the officiating error, but it's understood its position is unchanged and it will not contemplate granting Klopp's wish. So what did we do before we came on air? We get in touch with the Premier League. Have we heard back yet? No response yet. That's not exactly helpful, is it? So why are they silent? Why are they silent about this?
Well, because I don't think it's a question they feel they need to answer.
Of course they should, Simon.
Hold on. It's not a question that I think they need to answer because it's not a legitimate question that they're really ever going to consider putting out a replay. There is no precedent for it. There is no provision for it. And honestly, with all due respect to Liverpool, you are not going to get an outcome that you think you should get from a genuine... It wasn't a contrived mistake. It wasn't corruption. We hope it wasn't. It wasn't somebody that deliberately set out to make a mistake. It was a terrible error for which the official needs to be consequence.
And he will be.
And I understand he's not going to get sacked, and that's fine. That's up to them. That's their gift to handle it how they want. They're going to take him away from referee for being involved in Liverpool games, and that might be a sensible decision.
Is it?
What they need to do is take him away and get him to explain how you get yourself in a situation where you make that kind of mistake. But it's not a real. I'm sure that we can go through the history of football. And none of us have done it for the purpose of this conversation. I think someone should, because they can shut Klopp up and say something like this, something as equally as poor as this has happened in a football match, guaranteed. And the necessity for Jurgen to turn around after having a really good reaction on the game, to turn it into something now, I don't think it's good form.
No,
I think it's poor.
There's someone having a swipe at us.
I think it smacks of a bit of a whiner, quite frankly.
Probably a Liverpool fan saying, as usual, you guys ignore context. Klopp was asked what he would like to happen. He didn't say, this is what Liverpool are asking for. It's a non-conversation. It's not even being requested. It's just something to say in the press conference.
Well, then don't say it. But you know the effect of your words. I understand that you've got your Klopp-centric glasses on, and anyone that criticises Saint Klopp is going to find themselves in a situation where they are inherently wrong or have a motivation or agenda or don't like Liverpool. The bottom line is you know what you're doing when you're lighting. What would you like to happen in an ideal world? Move on. It's over.
Well, exactly.
Move on.
There's Dan, who's telling us that he's on his tractor at the moment listening to us, but Dan on his tractor is saying that, ironically, Klopp bangs on about too many fixtures in a season and player welfare, and yet he wants another game added to the fixture list.
That's facetious.
At the end of the day, though, Simon, the relevant point, I feel, is that had it ended in 3 points to Liverpool, we wouldn't be getting this.
No,
we wouldn't be getting this.
But you might be getting it from Tottenham.
But again, not for the first time last night in the Champions League. Semi-automated, the system that they use works. No complaints from anyone.
But somebody should have asked him.
How long would it take?
Somebody should have asked Klopp, did your club vote for semi-automated technology?
Yeah. And we've asked the Premier League, are you going to introduce
Klopp. Asked Klopp. While you're sitting here talking about the failings and the challenges and the injustices and floating the kite that ultimately in your ideal little world that we would have a replay. By the way, Jurgen, whilst we have this moment to share, did your club vote for semi-automated offside decisions? And I bet you'd have got a silence or a negative. So what is it you wanted to do to help yourself remove the situation? Was it your player that walked off the pitch telling the referee that he was a bleep bleep joke? Was it you that confronted a referee after a game and then in the press conference pretty much called him a cheat?
Yeah.
Were these things done by you, and are those things as acceptable? I thought his response after the game was brilliant. I think this is childish and Machiavellian and not necessary, and just creates an unnecessary set of conversations about an outcome that's been determined.
It won't be pre-match tonight before they face the Belgians at Union Saint-Gilloise, but maybe post-match after Liverpool maybe have done a job on the Belgians. Somebody will say, Jurgen, just in the passing, did Liverpool vote for the semi-automated system to be introduced to the game here in the Premier League? Let's see what happens. Someone's bound to ask it. Will they?
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.